Hi, and welcome to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, whole food plant-based culinary coach, and master herbalist. And I'm joined by Dan, an exercise specialist and wonderful master herbalist. Together, we'll dive into the world of natural healing, bringing you a wealth of knowledge and practical advice. We draw from both traditional wisdom and modern science with herbs and foods to help you achieve optimal health. So, did you know that the liver processes about 1.5 liters of blood every minute? That's over 2,000 liters of blood filtered every day. The liver performs over 500 functions that are essential for our health. These functions include detoxification, which we are all familiar with, protein synthesis, production of biochemicals necessary for digestion, storage of vitamins and minerals, regulation of blood clotting, controlling our blood sugar, and so much more. The liver's ability to perform such a wide range of processes makes it one of the most critical organs in our body. So today we're focusing on the liver and the gallbladder. So two organs that are important for detoxification and our overall health. It's actually really important for hormones as well. So Dan, thank you for joining me. So when we talk about detox, people often think about the liver, but the gallbladder, can't even say it, the gallbladder plays an important role too, right?
Oh yeah, I mean the liver is the body's filter. Without it, everything that we eat and we inhale from the environment would kill us. The liver's job is to, take the toxins and turn them into a form that are less harmful to the body. But without the gallbladder storing and concentrating the bile, the liver's jobs, it gets a lot harder. So Jen, do you remember a time when you had a client that was surprised to learn how critical the gallbladder is for their digestion?
Oh, yes. So a lot of times we have clients who come to us, they're either thinking about gallbladder surgery or they've already had gallbladder surgery, and they definitely have trouble with fat digestion, lots of burping, and things like that. And so they have no idea. A lot of times the doctor either tell them not to eat anything with fat, or they won't tell them anything about their diet. And so they go back continuing to eat whatever they were eating before their surgery, which apparently what they were eating before is what caused them to have the surgery, right? And so a lot of times we have to work on supporting the liver and digestion, adding things like bile salts and liver herbs, and removing the wrong kinds of fats, making sure that they're eating the right kind of fats, but also supporting those things that were missing before. So the liver produces the bile, which is then stored in the gallbladder. But when you have the gallbladder removed, you just have this, instead of storing the bile, the liver's still producing it. You just have this constant dripping. And so a lot of times people have issues with that too. You cause stomach digestion issues, stomach upset, and stuff like that. And so we have to find ways to manage that. And if they were in a state where they need gallbladder surgery or already had the gallbladder surgery, we have to go back to why did they need that in the beginning. And so usually it's because of the liver. We have to clean up the liver, and by reducing other things that we will be talking about more in this episode. So have you found that people are surprised that the gallbladder and the liver work so closely together?
All the time. I mean, people usually don't realize that poor bile flow can lead to digestive issues and even hormonal imbalances because the liver plays a role in hormone production. It's a real eye opener for a lot of people, but I mean, for instance, my mother, anytime she starts to get bloated, I give her a supplement for her gallbladder that I make, and she'll actually pass gallstones, and then the bloat will start to go down, and she can start to digest her food better. So we go through
Yes.
that a lot because, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with cleaning stuff up too. So like giving the herbs like you did, but also like, when we do the 14-day liver cleanse, we do a lot, to flush gallstones, because I think most of us have lived, so many years eating a poor diet. And so even though if you're not feeling gallstones, there probably are some tiny little stones in there. We have to flush those out. The bile gets sluggish from the poor diet, from the liver. The liver is managing way too many things, which it's supposed to do, but our environment has led to sluggish bile and congestion, and we have to work on ways to decrease that.
Well, speaking of that, Jennifer, what are some of the signs that your liver and gallbladder might be struggling? What do you usually look for?
So one can be chronic fatigue. A lot of times people are they don't realize that they're so tired, and it has something to do with liver congestion. Hormone imbalance is a huge one, which we touched on, but we haven't said a lot about. So I do want to make sure we come back to that. Skin like itchiness, rashes, even acne. Acne is a sign there's liver problems going on, as well as hormonal imbalances too, and digestive issues as well. So we have to remember that the liver processes things. It's important in metabolizing hormones. And so like if you have PMS, hot flashes, even thyroid issues, our liver has to process all of these hormones, and it also helps to in the process of creating other hormones. If we have, like we hear a lot about estrogen dominance, and for some people genetically, they are more prone to having issues with breaking down caffeine, which is, why when we work with some clients, we tell them they have to cut out the caffeine. Because if you're one of those people genetically who can't break down caffeine, your liver sees caffeine as a major toxin. And so it immediately starts working on the caffeine. And so it's not letting estrogen clear and breaking down estrogen the way that it's supposed to. So then we end up with estrogen dominance, all because we're drinking the caffeine. And so if you know, like in your family history, that estrogen dominance is an issue, then one of the things that you want to look at is caffeine, because your liver is kind of holding things up, focusing on that instead of letting things go through. And so those are all things that I like to look at. If anytime we have any of these things going on, actually any chronic illness, I'm going to work on cleaning everything up and using some tools and things to help with the liver. I know at the School of Natural Healing, we always, we started with the bowels and then the kidneys, but then we went to the liver and gallbladder because they are so important in all of our conditions. So whenever someone has any kind of symptoms, that is something that is going to be in the back of my mind. So if you had a client whose symptoms improved once they had their liver and gallbladder supported?
Yeah, I've had clients that their energy would get better because of what you were just talking about, but also I've seen some people when they're trying to lose weight, they'll be losing weight and then, you'll hit a set point, but sometimes a liver cleanse will help the person to lose more weight, because when you're losing weight, the body stores toxins in the fat tissue. So sometimes the liver can get overburdened when you're losing a lot of weight. And I found if you do a liver cleanse, it can kind of kickstart the weight loss again. Now, it doesn't work for everyone, but I think it's important. Anything we're trying to do, especially weight loss, is to use the herbs to support detoxification, because you're stirring up a lot of toxins when you're losing fat. So,
Right. I think that was one of the keys for me. So a lot of, for those of you who are new, my history is I was diagnosed with autoimmune thyroid disease back in 2007, and fought with doctors until 2013, when my doctor told me that I would die if I didn't have radiation. And so I did, and I've regretted it ever since. Medical disclaimer: we don't give a medical disclaimer. We are not giving medical advice. We are not telling you what to do, what to use. Do this, don't do that. We are strictly here for educational purposes. So for me, even though I regret it, it did put me in a place where I am today, where I can teach other people about the thyroid and protecting the thyroid. And what happens when I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, when you have a thyroidectomy or you have radiation, is to change you to Hashimoto's, which most people are familiar with Hashimoto's, because apparently, it wasn't true for me, Hashimoto's is more manageable than Graves' disease. And so you're just trading in one autoimmune disease for another one. I think it's just because their doctors are more familiar with Hashimoto's. I felt better before I had my radiation. So once I had this Hashimoto's, that was back in 2013, I was still struggling. And that's when I discovered functional medicine and started working with doctors and working on cleaning up things. But what really helped me was doing a liver detoxification program. I created my own using what we learned at the School of Natural Healing, which we went there. I think I started there in maybe 2017. And I was on the very slow program. It should only take 2 years, but did we go in 20, was it 2021? I think
2021, yeah.
when we graduated.
It
Yeah.
was.
So it took me, I was like one of the long haulers on learning how to do all of this because I was working and doing other things on the side. Anyway, long story short, I used the program that we learned at the School of Natural Healing, working on the bowels, working on the kidneys, working on the liver, and then using all the tools and things that we'll be talking about shortly too. And that really, helped me clean everything out with liver disease. I mean, with thyroid disease, a lot of times it's due to toxins. It can be from endocrine disruptors, from plastics in your environment. I know I was microwaving in plastic, drinking out of plastic water bottles, running my water bottles through the dishwasher and reusing them. I was eating things like Cool Whip and ham that came in, like I call it redneck Tupperware. And I would wash those and reuse those to store things in my refrigerator and then reheat those. I remember them like melting in the microwave, getting stained all red from whatever you microwaved in. So all those plastics can affect the thyroid. You have to clean all that out, and it's hard to detox plastics. And so using herbs and things that help to detox all of your organs, but mainly focusing on the liver are so important. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on a tangent like that, but I really feel like at the School of Natural Healing, it's just such an important tool of knowing how to properly do a detoxification program.
Definitely.
So let's talk about some of the herbs. So I was thinking of a few. My number one herb for the liver, something that I use all the time, is milk thistle. Milk thistle is wonderful for the thyroid, for the liver. It's helpful in strengthening the liver, helping with liver regeneration. It's one of those that's a very gentle herb, but it's also one that's hard to extract. If you do a milk thistle extraction, a tincture, things like that, it's hard to get it. So it is one that I like to use. Once again, medical disclaimer, make sure it's right for you. I'm not telling you to take it. Do your own due diligence and decide if it's right for you. But it's also one that I like to take on again, off again. And so I'll take it for a week or two, and then I'll go off of it for a week or two, and then I'll add it back. It's also something that I put in like a pepper grinder, as with, what do I have in there? Black cumin seed and fenugreek. And so those are all kind of peppery and a little bit sweet. And so it looks just like pepper when you put it on your food. And I'll just put that on my foods every now and then. In that form, you don't get a lot of the benefits in that form. But for some reason, I just feel like that is a good choice for me to add those herbs that way. But I want you to tell me your thoughts on milk thistle. But another one that I really like for detoxification, under the guidance of someone who knows what they're doing, is bugleweed. Bugleweed is wonderful for detoxifying heavy metals, but it is one that I do think that you need to be really prepared for, just to make sure that all the pathways are open, which I think we'll talk about that in a minute too. And then really simple culinary herbs, parsley and cilantro. I think most of our listeners have probably heard about cilantro and helping detox heavy metals. It's a wonderful chelator and detoxifying. So what are your herbs? What do you like to use for the liver and the gallbladder? Oh, I didn't even think about good ones.
I definitely always use milk thistle. That's always one of my top herbs because it, like you're saying, it does regenerate the liver. It helps the liver regenerate, but it also protects the liver from toxins, like somebody taking drugs. For example, some bodybuilders, when they're on steroids, which I don't promote steroids, but they take milk thistle, it actually protects our liver it helps protect the liver from damage from the drugs that they're on.
Oh, wow.
Also, yeah, that's how powerful it is.
It's crazy that that's a protocol.
It is. I know. There's also, I saw an article where milk thistle can protect the gallbladder. I mean, it's the liver from death cap mushroom. So it's actually
Really?
an antidote to death cap. Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Now I wouldn't want to. I,
Don't try
I'm not,
it.
yeah, don't try. I mean, go to the emergency room if you think you've ingested that, but that's just how powerful this herb is. You know,
Mhm,
I make a tincture like it's for liver gallbladder, and I've used it with great success with some of my clients. And Mick thistle is their number one herb in there, but also put dandelion root. Dandelion is another one I like to use.
yes.
It's also a really good herb.
Mhm,
And I also put hydrangea root, which is not necessarily a liver herb, but it helps
mhm,
break down stones. So a lot of people have
yeah,
stones in their gallbladder, so I like to put that in there.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Mhm.
So what's some more herbs you like for the liver?
So I didn't even, so dandelion, like chicory root, and
Oh yeah.
any of the anything bitter. Anything bitter is great for stimulating bile production. And so, dandelion leaves, if you can buy, I mean, now in the grocery stores, you can buy dandelion leaves in the grocery store, or your local farmer's market, or dandelions in everyone's yard. If you
Oh
don't spray and you don't have animals going to the bathroom on your dandelion, then please
yeah.
harvest your dandelion leaves and include those. They're nice and bitter. Arugula, another one. So any of those bitter greens are going to be really great at stimulating bile and helping to clean up the bile. And those leafy greens are also going to help you. I mean, it's the lifeblood of the plant, so similar to our own blood. And so if you can just eat those, that's going to help clean up the liver as well. And then there are other herbs that are great that we don't, are foods that are great for the liver that we don't think of as herbs, like ginger and turmeric are wonderful. They have wonderful chemicals in there that help with the liver, and limonene, which is found in lemons and limes. If you have, organic or grow your own lemons or limes or other citrus, and you just can grate some of that lemon on top of your foods. One of the most medicinal parts of the citrus is the white pith, which as a kid, I made sure none of that white was on my citrus. And now I know that that is so beneficial, but that is also that the chemical in there, the limonene, is something that is also wonderful for the liver. And you think about, the orange, that how bitter that is, like orange peel. And a lot of people will make tea with orange peel or lemon peel, and it's so bitter, but it's so wonderful for the liver. Yeah, and what easy ways to incorporate daily something that can help with your liver. So let's talk about detox. So I think a lot of people picture a juice cleanse, which we did do at the School of Natural Healing, the 3-day mucus, um, as part of the 3-day juice cleanse leading into a mucusless diet. And I think that's an important thing to do, but not everyone's ready to jump in and do a juice cleanse. I know you've done a long juice cleanse.
Oh yeah.
But like for me, and like in our 14-day cleanse, we only have one juice day. But some people do end up doing 3, but we work our way to it. We go straight to completely whole food plant based, 100% whole food plant based, and then we start adding in blended meals, and then we start incorporating juices, and then we have a juice day. So we let the body work its way up to that. And so that is just something that I really like too. It also, just by transitioning the diet that way to completely whole food plant-based, no inflammatory foods, no meats, no dairy, no eggs, we're really helping to open up the pathways of the bowels and the kidneys. We're increasing fiber to make things moving, things are moving well. Sometimes we use herbs to make sure that the urine is flowing well, and we're protecting all the little endothelial cells of the urinary tract and the digestive tract as we go along as well. So I want to ask you, what is your take on detox protocols, and how do you approach detox?
Well, most of the people that come to me, they've been living the standard American lifestyle with the standard diet, no exercise, all these things. So if you were to take this person and say, take them from the standard diet and put them on a juice cleanse the next day, they're going to feel really bad.
Yeah.
So I work on small change and like, okay, can you give up a certain food and replace it with another one? Say, give up your steak for beans. So
Yeah.
we start to incorporate more plants, more fiber. I want to start to help them get their bowels moving 1 to 3 times a day first. Start to clean them up slowly so they don't feel like they're dying because they'll stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
know
don't
what?
feel good. I
So
can't do this anymore. Right.
yeah. So that's how I start. We start slowly. It may be a month. It may be 2 months, but I work on their bowels. I want to make sure their bowels are working seamlessly. We're going to have at least 2 bowel movements a day. Then we can start taking things for the liver and gallbladder.
Right. Right. Yeah. One thing at a time.
Hmm.
Yeah. And now a lot of people think they have to do something extreme. Um, so like you said, an extreme, I'm thinking of people who have done the detoxes where they're drinking the Epsom salts and, a cup or more of olive oil. And I mean, just the thought of that seems so abrasive to the body, but also immediately makes me think I would totally throw up or something bad would happen. Like, I don't see how anyone could feel comfortable doing something like that. And I, I've heard of people doing this coming straight from a standard American diet. So I mean, just imagine how horrible you would feel doing something like that. So I don't think that that's the answer. And, going straight into a juice cleanse, like you talked about, so many people that have done that, if they don't do it properly, I mean, they get so sick and they swear it off. They're like, I'm never, ever going to do that again. Whereas if we prepare the body, what works is preparing the body, like you said, removing all of the things that are clogging up the system, right? Um, those inflammatory foods, number one. Inflammatory foods, removing any suspected allergens. So even like people say, I'm fine, that food doesn't bother me. And I get this all the time. I don't know about you. I don't have to give up bread because I know it's not a problem for me. I've been eating bread all my life. I was one of those people. And so sidetrack for a second, if most people with an autoimmune condition have multiple autoimmune conditions, they don't know it unless you do multiple tests and get diagnosed, or you have all these other symptoms that show up. And so I didn't know it until they started being revealed, and I did genetic testing, and I have all of the markers for celiac disease. Well, I was a baker. I made breads, muffins, pizza crust, croissants, bagels every week for us to eat. And gluten had nothing to do with me. This is as early as 20. But this is as while I was having my radiation, I was still eating gluten. And I went to my doctor and she was like, you can have gluten. I was like, well, I heard if you have autoimmune disease, you can't have gluten. And so for me, once I did remove the gluten, a month later, my antibodies didn't change. And I was like, see, I told you I could eat the gluten. But when I removed it for 6 months, my antibodies changed. And so a lot of times, and then I felt so much better too and had so much energy. We don't realize that we don't feel good. We're so used to how we feel. And so then when we do have a change, then we're like, oh, I had no idea I could have this much energy. And so that was one of the things for me. I went from someone who could never think about running to being a runner, just from giving up, well, gluten and animal products as well. And so how does that relate to detox? Well, I needed to give those things up because my body was fighting all that gluten. And so what I like to do when I put someone on detox program is remove any suspected allergens. Dairy's gone, eggs are gone, peanuts are gone, soy is gone. And so soy is another topic we'll talk about on another podcast. Soy can be good, but unless it's an allergen for you. And you may not know, like that's another one that I thought that I could handle. And then that's something that we'll talk about because I love soy, but for some reason my body won't handle it at the moment. And so we remove any suspected allergen and remove any inflammatory foods. And like you said, focusing on the bowels and the kidneys, we have to detox those first before we get to the liver and the gallbladder. And then we incorporate those herbs. So we focus on herbs for the lower bowel, focus on herbs for the kidneys, focus on cleaning up the diet, and then focus on the liver and the gallbladder. So, Dan, what are some things that you use or some other tools or suggestions that you would give somebody thinking about a detox?
Well, first of all, I would say listen to your body. If you're feeling sluggish, if you're getting bloated, you can start to incorporate some of these herbs like we talked about, maybe some dandelion root, maybe some milk thistle, but also I recommend everybody stay hydrated. Proper hydration is going to help it helps everything, you know, not to mention your liver and your gallbladder. Also, I think there's so many people do not get enough exercise. I'm not talking about running a marathon. Just going for daily walks can make everything in your body flow better, and that includes your bowel. You know, it's just like, you know, getting out and sweating a little bit is so good for all your organs. You don't have to kill yourself. I love my bicycle. I think a bicycle is a great way to do if you have a place to ride your bike. It's a nice, gentle exercise.
Mhm.
Rebounding's good on a trampoline. I think that's a good one for people. And I think we should all sweat some, you know, because it's good for us, and most of us don't sweat anymore, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the lymphatic system and how, because it's not really mentioned, and you have to move the lymphatic system, and that's part of our detoxification as well. It's something else we'll have to talk about on another podcast. But you have to
Yeah.
move for that. Yeah. So, and then like we talked about a lot of foods that people can use daily. Like you don't have to wait until um, you've cleaned up everything to add in cilantro and garlic and turmeric and um, lemon zest and lime zest. And so just starting to add in all those herbs as you work on removing, detoxing from inflammatory foods is a great way to start. And so daily you can work on things to help with detoxification. Read about castor oil packs, and you're doing castor oil packs over the liver. That's a wonderful way to work on the liver, but also the lower bowels. So if you're someone who suffers from constipation, look up castor oil packs over the lower bowels. It's a great way to get things moving. And if you are really congested, doing it over the liver one day and then the lower bowels the next day is a great way, and something that's safe and doable. Do your own due diligence. Don't just take my word for it. Tongue scraping. You can buy really great tongue scrapers on Amazon, not very expensive at all. And every time you brush your teeth, just scraping your tongue, you'll be surprised at what all comes off of your tongue. And over time, as you detox, you'll see your tongue turns into a nice, shiny, plump, pale pink color, the way it should be. And then making sure your bowels are open and flowing. So making sure you're getting plenty of fiber. The average American only gets half the amount of fiber that we need in a day. And so you're making sure you're increasing your fiber. Don't go from no fiber a day to 50 grams, but start adding in more plants, reducing animal products. Go completely remove all animal products if possible. That's going to be the best thing you can do for your overall health. But as you work towards that, making sure that you're opening your bowels and making sure you're moving, because you should be pooping at least once every single day, ideally after every single large meal. Do you have anything you would like to add before we wrap up, Dan?
Well, I'll just add one thing. It's just really short. We always come back to, I think it's important for everybody to work on their emotional challenges and to try to have fun every day. And I could take this advice myself. As an adult, I think we all are way too serious all the time. I think that if we could find time to play a little bit and have fun and just take a big breath of relief sometimes, because all these pent up frustrations, it's really hard to stay healthy when you're always stressed out about something and you never laugh. So,
Yes.
you know, easy
Yes.
part, right?
Yes. Laughter and gratitude are so important for helping us as well. And you may find if you do a liver detox that a lot of emotions come up, because we do store emotions. Something else we'll have to talk about in another call. But we store emotions. And so as you're detoxing, you may start detoxifying emotions as well. Yes. So to wrap up, our liver and gallbladder are vital for detoxification and overall health. You'll feel much better if your liver and gallbladder are functioning well. Support these organs with the right foods and herbs, movement, and hydration. Those are so important for your body. Remember, if you're looking to dive deeper into your health journey, you can work with Dan or me by visiting holisticgen.com or danthenaturalman.com. Thank you for joining us today. Take care. We'll see you next time.